So, welcome everybody who's here. I'm going to pass it over to Crystal, and everything is going to run smoothly tonight.
All right. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, then that's a good way to start running smoothly. So,
Yes.
welcome to Parent Connect. I'm Crystal Overfelt. I am the Head Start, Early Head Start Conscious Discipline Trainer. And we are on our third session of some parent tips and tools from Conscious Discipline's parent curriculum. And tonight we're going to be talking about the skill of encouragement. And just like in previous sessions, it's going to be broken down into three segments. And the first one is just breathe, where we learn a breathing technique that will help create safety through calming. And then be there is where we look at how connection impacts cooperation, and we'll be learning a new leverage rule that you can enjoy with your kiddos. And then lastly, me first, and that's where we look at practicing, modeling, and teaching the skills that we want our children to learn. So let's get started with just breathe. And the first session, we learned that breathing is one of those things that helps to calm the body when our autonomic nervous system just gets overwhelmed or overstimulated. And that research tells us that 3 deep breaths will cut our stress response in half. And so it literally puts a pause between whatever's upsetting us or what the conflict is and our response to it. So it's really important to learn how to take that breath so that we can respond rather than react whenever things are not going our way. And so, so far we've learned star breathing. Then last time we learned balloon breathing. And tonight we are going to be learning about draining, which is a breathing technique that really helps to get some stress out of your body. So we have a video for you, and I would just encourage you to, as she describes this, to try it with her, because it'll get rid of some of that tension we're carrying around. Here we go.
And we're back. So the next deep breathing exercise we're going to talk about is drain breathing. Drain breathing is one of my favorites because it just helps get rid of any tension or stress that you might be carrying. A lot of times stress tends to build up in our muscles through our arms and our neck. And so this one's really good for that. So what you're going to do is you're going to place your arms out in front like this, and you're going to squeeze in. And while you're squeezing, you're going to breathe in through your nose and exhale through your mouth. And you're going to release all that tension that's building up. So again, it's going to look like this. You're going to squeeze, 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 breathe in. And again. And again, I know I say it a lot, but I like to do it between 4 to 5 times, again, just to get the most oxygen to our brain and body. Thanks.
Well, I did it with her, and it sure got some stress out of my body. So I hope you did too. All right, the next thing we're going to look at is our section on Be There, and that is all about connection. And connection is what helps us when we're in an emotional state, when life isn't going our way. It helps us whenever we know that we're not alone in that. And love rituals are the tools that we use in our classrooms that use eye contact, touch, presence, and playfulness to make those connections. It not only releases feel-good chemicals in our body when we do that, but it actually wires the brain for self-control and willingness. And so that's some pretty important stuff. So the love ritual that we are going to learn tonight is called On Your Face. And we have a mom and her son going to model that for us.
Hi friends, and welcome back. Alex and I are here to demonstrate another I love you ritual for you guys. Okay, are you ready? Okay. On your face, you have a nose, and way down here, you have 10 toes. 2 eyes that blink, and a head to think. You have a chin Whoops, your chin. And very near, you have 2 ears to help you hear. Arms go high and arms go low. A great big hug to say hello. And that was it.
And that is something that you can find on a parent handout that you'll be receiving. It's written out for you, but you can also just Google it on, it's on YouTube if you want to see that. But one of the things I want to encourage you to do is not worry about getting the words or the actions just right. It's all about the social play and interaction that you have with your kids. So if you can't remember that, make up your own or do the ones that they enjoy. I'm sure there are things like peekaboo or this little piggy or hide and seek that your child may enjoy. It is all about the connection, not about the performance. So don't worry about that. Because the thing about it is you are your child's recharging station. When they're running low on emotional energy or the ability to cope with life, you are that attachment relationship that they go to calm and distress and re-energize emotionally so that they can re-engage in life. So don't worry about what it is, just be there. I read an article recently that suggested that when a child comes to you for physical or emotional comfort, just to follow their lead for the length of time that hug or snuggle session lasts. Don't rush through the process. Don't be the first to let go. Just hold that child until you feel them release from the hug. And that lets you know that, that they've recharged. Just like we look at our phone to see how much the charge has come up, we can look at our children's cues and their signals to see, have they gotten what they need? And a lot of times whenever I'm in a classroom and doing a love ritual with a child, I'll offer at the end to do a big hug. And a lot of times I'll just do that. I'll hug them until they're done being hugged. You can feel their body release and they're ready to go play. And so I thought that was a great analogy to think about, that we're that recharging station for them, and just to let the process do its work, because hugs are a powerful thing. They give energy. We give energy to one another whenever we embrace and hug. So that I thought was a cool analogy I would share. And then lastly, we're going to get to the meat of what we're talking about tonight, which is the skill of encouragement and the power of unity. And the question, we try to answer a question for parents each time that we're together. And the first time in our first session, we answered the question, how do I help my child to learn self-regulation? And we looked at the skill of composure and how to model that for them. And in our second session, we answered the question, how do I teach my child to follow directions and give directions that they can follow? And we talked about the skill of assertiveness and the power of attention, focusing on what we do want. And so today we're going to answer the question, how do I encourage my child? Or perhaps a better question would be, how do I give them the encouragement they need to succeed and follow through? And so let's get started. Encouragement is such a powerful tool because it speaks to the power of connection and the power of our words. And since we have a me first approach in conscious discipline, I just want us to think about ourselves through the lens of encouragement and what that looks like for us as adults. It is much easier when we are alone or isolated to allow seeds of self-doubt or lack of self-will to discourage us. But when we have someone who can come alongside us and speak a different narrative to us, it can give us strength, it can give us courage, it can give us the belief to try again. and to finish a daunting task, or to simply put forth the effort because somebody sees us and they believe in us and they speak that to us. They see us. Encouragement is a real gift. And whenever we experience that as an adult, we know that it is powerful from our own experience. And that is why the power behind encouragement is unity. It says we're all in this together. We need one another. And how we need one another. You know, we're all unique, we're all different, but we are all connected, and we have an impact on one another. And whenever we can honor both our uniqueness and our interdependence, then we see that everybody has an important role to play and a contribution to make, whether it's in a family or in a classroom. And so here's the deal. Whenever we act in caring, helpful ways, we feel good. And in fact, the brain is equipped with feel-good hormones and chemicals like serotonin and dopamine that are released when we feel like we're a valued, contributing member of a group, whether it is a family or a school family. We just feel better when we feel like we're making a difference. And so I just want you to ask yourself this question before we move on to how we encourage children by looking at that lens for yourself. I want you to ask yourself, have I ever done better from being in a discouraged state? And I think we would all say no. We don't do better whenever we're discouraged. And so this is a powerful principle that we want to learn and practice and to give to our children. And so if we want to do this for our kiddos, we have to change the narrative with them as well. We have to look at our language and embrace the language of unity, because the language of unity is opposite of the language of fear that we often use whenever we are talking to children, because the language of fear focuses on what you're currently doing wrong. You've been sitting there for 20 minutes and haven't eaten a bite. Or it focuses on what will go wrong. You're going to be sorry. You're going to fail. You're going to flop. You're going to flub. You're going to fall. And it tells us what we should have done that got us into the mess in the first place. Like, if you would have just listened to me, if you just would have blah, blah, blah. So the language of fear is always focused on what's wrong, what will go wrong, and what we should have done to avoid the situation in the first place. It's pretty discouraging stuff. And so we already said that being in a state of discouragement doesn't help us to do better. But the language of unity shifts our focus from what's wrong with me language to focusing on helpful acts, kind acts. It puts the focus on how can I help my child to be successful, to successfully accomplish something, rather than focusing on what's wrong. And so sometimes that shift has to happen internally first. Like, I have to start thinking in terms of how can I help my child be successful rather than focusing on what they're doing wrong. And then it can happen externally whenever I start changing my language from what's wrong to let's focus on what was going right. And so the language of unity operates on this principle. What you offer to others, you strengthen in yourself. So if we focus on what's wrong or what's missing, we end up developing a sense of lack within ourselves. And we're going to feel deep down that we're not good enough. And when we're discouraged, we discourage others. And when we focus on being helpful, that's what we're offering to others and to ourselves. So it changes the whole dynamic, because our words are powerful. It matters how we talk. It matters how we talk to others, and it matters especially how we talk to children. I love this quote that says, "The way we speak to our children matters. for the words travel beyond their ears, settling into the creases of their heart and the crevices of their self-worth. And so we want, when we speak, our words to be things that are going to be encouraging to our children. And we want those things that they hear to make a difference, because there's two important outcomes to encouragement. It builds a sense of self and of who I am, my capability, that the things that I do matter. And it also develops a sense of belonging, that I have a part to play, and a gift to offer, and a place to belong. It's important what we say, because our words build our children's belief systems. As we encourage our children, it becomes their inner voice, and not just for a moment, but for a lifetime. It becomes a CD-ROM that will play over and over again in their head, because this is a key, and you want to grab this. My you language to my child becomes their I language. And what that means is, when I say, you did it, they say, I did it. When I say, you were helpful, it becomes, I am helpful. When I say, you cleaned up the toys, it becomes, I helped clean up. But the opposite is true too. Just as if I say, you never do anything right, I never do anything right. You always struggle. I always struggle. So we have a decision to make. Our you language is going to become their I language. And what do I want that voice in their head to say on a regular basis? I want to speak words that are going to encourage them, not discourage them. And encouragement also creates that sense of belonging, of contributing, of letting us know that we have an essential part to play within our family or within our classroom, because virtue is its own reward. When we contribute, when we do good for the benefit of others, we feel good. Our body actually releases those feel-good hormones that reward us with a sense of well-being. We don't need to bribe children to do kind or helpful things. We simply need to teach and model and give opportunities for them to practice them. And then we need to notice. We need to notice those things out loud. Whoops, I think I went backwards. And we also, in our classrooms, one of the things we do, and one of the things kids need to have a sense of encouragement and have a sense of accomplishment, is they need to have meaningful jobs of how they can help, how they can contribute. And so you want to come up with things that they can do to contribute, to be of service, to be a part. On your handout, just similar to this little chore chart by age that I have up here on the screen, there are a lot of things kids at 2 and 3 can do. Now we have to remember that they're not going to accomplish these things to our perfection or as well as we would, but it's not about expertise. The point is about giving them an opportunity to contribute and practice the skills and find that sense of accomplishment and joy of giving of themselves, because that is an encouraging thing, just by practicing those skills of helpfulness. But again, we have to notice them. And noticing is a specific skill that is essential to encouragement, and it's more powerful than the most lavish praise. And just noticing is describing a child's actions out loud. It's saying what you see. And so we want to do that, learn to do encouragement by saying what we see, describing what they're doing. Encouragement isn't just good job or I like it when you pick up. Whenever I just say good job, that doesn't give them enough information to be able to know what to do next time. And whenever I say, I like it when you do this, or I like it when you do that, it becomes about pleasing me, or somebody else's estimation of what they're doing. We simply need to notice what they're doing, because noticing stimulates the brain, and it stimulates those reward systems in the brain that make them feel good about their contribution. And so say what you see and practice not using I, use their name and start with you. And I'll give you 3 samples of some basic noticing that we suggest that you use. Number 1 is just basic noticing that describes what the child did and makes it about them. You ever notice how children say, watch me, watch me, watch me? They are just asking to be seen, and noticing lets them know, I see you. And so it would sound like, you did it. You, whatever they did, you helped your sister up. You put your dish on the table. You, whatever it was, you just say what they did and describe it without judging it. Okay, so that's just basic noticing. It would sound like, you did it. You wrote your name, or look at you. You pushed the button and it went beep. So basic noticing. The second kind of noticing is noticing to encourage compliance after you've given an assertive command. And it would sound like, come stand by me. And they come stand by you, and you say, you did it. You came and stood by me. And just notice whenever they do comply with what you're doing. If you want more compliance, do more noticing. It would sound like, you did it. You waited patiently for your turn, or you did it. You held my hand across the street. So whenever you give a command and they comply with that, notice it out loud, what that it was that they did, because that's going to stimulate those reward system in their brain. And then the third kind is noticing to encourage kindness and helpfulness. And it sounds like this. You did it. You describe whatever they did, but then you add so, and then how it was helpful, and say, that was helpful. So let me give you a couple of examples of that. So it would sound like, you did it. You put the toys in the basket so the floor would be clean. That was helpful. I'm giving you information, not just good job, okay? So you did it. You set the table with forks, plates, and napkins, so we would have everything that we needed. That was helpful. You did it. You saw Jace dropped his crayon and picked it up so he could finish coloring. That was helpful. You did it. You helped mommy, you handed mommy the dirty pacifier so she could wash it off. That was helpful. So noticing, it breaks down just as a review into, whenever I want to notice kind and helpful acts, because I'm going to encourage kind and helpful acts when I notice them, it's simply you blank, so blank. You, what the child did, so how it was helpful, and you say that was helpful. And then noticing, when you're just noticing choices or actions or accomplishment, you just say you did it. You, and then you describe what they did. This is a powerful tool. Whenever we actually notice someone and say what we see, that is something that is encouraging to them, and it stimulates those reward systems in the brain. And lastly, a takeaway that you're going to be making later this month, and something that we use in our classroom, is called the kindness tree. And it's just another concrete way that we make concepts like kindness and helpfulness concrete to children, something that they can actually see. And it isn't about creating a sticker chart for a specific child. It is about helping everyone to focus on looking for and recognizing kindness and helpfulness and what it looks like, and growing those acts of kindness in your classroom or home. It changes the focus from what's wrong to what's right. It changes your focus from you know, looking around for what everybody's doing wrong to looking around to look for what everyone's doing right. It elevates that. And like we said earlier, when we only are focused on what is wrong, we discourage ourselves. And when we're discouraged, we discourage others. So this will be something that you might want to think about using in your home, like we use in our classrooms. And the last thing I want to share tonight is I want to leave you with some encouragement today. We all know that parenthood is the toughest job that you'll ever love, but it is also the most rewarding. And I want you to know that you have got this. You are your child's first and most important teacher, and you have what it takes to be the best parent for that child, for your child specifically. So I want you to leave encouraged yourself. Life happens and parenthood isn't always easy, but you've got this. And the most important thing to your child is that you're present, you're there, and that you see them. And so when it gets challenging, breathe and remind yourself you're safe, you can handle this. You are making a difference, the biggest difference in the world by the child that you are raising. And so that's what I have for you this evening. And so from me to you, I'm wishing you well on your parenthood journey.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Crystal? I will tell you that, again, like always, if you would like to email me questions or relay questions through your FRS or home visitor, I am compiling a list of questions for Crystal to answer that will be kind of a takeaway from the entire series once we're done. So if you do have questions or you think of questions afterwards, or you start to put some of this in practice, and you realize you have a question, then feel free to email and we will get the questions answered for you. I'm also putting a link in the chat tonight for a survey. If you could do the survey real quick before you log off. It is 4 questions long. I promise it won't take very long. And we're also going to do a drawing. And if for some reason this all goes away before you're able to click on the link, it will or if you're watching and you're not watching live, if you're watching the recorded version, the link to the survey will also be there with the YouTube video that we turn this recording into.